Oh, hey there, guys. I want to talk to you about some things people have been discussing that they want to see in the Zelda series, and like in Zelda Wii too, but also a little more in the series in general. There's some topics that people they talk about and they want to see in the games. Not everyone agrees on them, but it's just something some people talk about, and I wanted to share my thoughts on them. First on the list is voice acting. In the past, I've had a lot of complaints about the idea, and kind of as time has gone on and going on now, I've kind of had more acceptance of the idea. To be clear, my thoughts on it is I think Nintendo can do it well. I mean, there's games like Mario, like Sunshine, where the voice acting was kind of poor, but this is Zelda. Nintendo wouldn't let that happen to this series, and it kind of demands production values that they wouldn't mess up, you know what I mean? The thing that I didn't like about voice acting before is because I actually liked the style before. It wasn't that I didn't think voice acting would be good. I liked what they did before, where they just had the text, and they had like the odd sounds playing, the characters would make noises as the as the text went on. I thought that kind of had its own style, and I liked that. That said, like I said, I've accepted the concept of voice acting. I like the idea. They could do it in a way where, it goes with the text scrolling. It goes with, the text boxes come, and the characters, move their mouths, and the voice acting plays like a sound clip. They could do it, they can do it without disrupting the way the game works. And, the only thing is, Link can never talk. I'm sorry. I just don't think Link can talk. I mean, there's arguments that he's not like a proxy for the player anymore. He's not a link between the player and the game world anymore. But even if that is true, I don't think he should talk. I think voice acting can and possibly should be done, but Link can't talk. Link can't talk. There, I said it a third time, or was that a fourth time? The next thing I want to talk about is people wanting the game to be darker. To be fair, dark can work. It makes a unique story, and there's things you can do with a dark storyline that you can't do otherwise. My opinion on the subject, and you probably are familiar with me complaining about the darkness of Zelda games, is that it doesn't quite fit in with Zelda. Zelda's always been lighthearted. It's got this family-friendly kind of wholesome feel, and it just has a lighter. It's a happy fantasy story. That said, like I mentioned already, games that are dark can work, like Majora's Mask or Twilight Princess. They're occasional, though. You'll notice they don't happen very often, and that it's been pretty good so far. I think the idea of making the entire series dark is a bit of a mistake, and I think what they've been doing, an occasional dark game, is pretty good. Going along with this a little bit is the next point about the game being more mature or adult. And I'm talking about content like violence and gore and stuff like that, or sexual content too, but a little less about that. I'm not talking like the darkness or Link being mature. I mean like being older. I mean like the game being more mature, more violent and whatnot. The series' history, it has not been violent. It's become the standard for the series. It is not a violent, it is not a, it's a kid-friendly series. If they change that, there would be sales issues because they alienate their current fan base. I mean, there'd be the younger kids who cannot play these mature games, but there's also the people who just don't like the mature stuff. They liked the family-friendly nature of the previous games in the series, and they don't want to play a dark game whether or not it's appropriate for them, There's also changing the series from what it's been. Why would you change something? It works how it is. You can make tweaks to make it unique, but I think changing it drastically is kind of weird and stuff. There's also, I know there's people who have gotten older and they actually prefer mature games, but I feel like they're just trying to change. I mean, I can respect that. I know I play mature games. I don't have anything wrong with mature games. I just don't think Zelda should be. And I know there are people who like to play mature games with, violence and stuff. But I kind of feel like they just want to make Zelda mature because it's what they prefer. They're not thinking about other people or what the series should be. It's just kind of what their little personal preference. I don't feel that's quite fair. I'm not trying to pick a fight with you guys. This is just my thoughts on the matter. I'm not saying that you guys are wrong necessarily. I just don't quite agree with the concept. And also, there needs to be family-friendly games. That's just a fact. You can't make all the games in the world mature games. So I think, taking this family-friendly series and saying, hey, this should be mature, that's not quite appropriate in my opinion. There's also the fact that if you make it mature, further than just alienating its fan base, what you'll do is, a kid will play Zelda and he's like, Zelda! Parents are fine with that. And then they make a mature Zelda game with like violence and blood spray, and the parent buys it for their kid, and the kid gets traumatized. I mean, there'll be issues like that, and I just think it's somewhere we shouldn't tread, really. That was long-winded. The next thing is Zelda should be modern or futuristic. Now, this one is not one a lot of people talk about. I think it's kind of like most people acknowledge this as silly, but my thoughts are that Zelda is and has always been a fantasy game, and it should always be that way in my opinion. Futuristic would be weird, but I can't deny that it could work. I don't particularly want to see it, but it's still fantasy. You can have futuristic stuff and it still be fantasy, so it still keeps in with that rule. It has to be fantasy. Modern is not fantasy. Or at least it is usually not. They could throw in the monsters, but it's not going to be very fantasy-like. I would begrudgingly accept futuristic if they decided to do it. I really don't want to see it. I'd really prefer they not. But I would never accept modern storylines with Zelda. I just won't do that. If they had lots of ridiculous technology and just so much it became futuristic, fine. I could work with it as long as the game was good. I think it's better they keep it in a more medieval context, though. And going along with that is like talking about the game being steampunk. They're already going this way with some of the technology. They have mild steampunk elements in already existing games, especially in Twilight Princess. The thing about Twilight Princess is that it had all the technology, and a lot of the other games have been following on this technology thing. If you don't know what steampunk is, you can check it on Wikipedia. It gives a pretty good outline of what it means. The thing about steampunk is it's nothing like futuristic. And certainly not like modern. It's still fantasy. Plenty of fantasies have steampunk. And it doesn't even go as far as futuristic. Steampunk would be fine in Zelda. It would work. It could even work great. I have complaints about them ditching magic, but that doesn't mean they can't throw in the technology or mix the two together, magic technology, or do trippy things. They can make it work well. Steampunk fits right in my opinion. It works really well with the series, and it would be even better choice than futuristic. I'd rather they go steampunk. They could even experiment with other styles, like, more Asian-y themes, as I've mentioned in the past, but, or even Greek, because they used to name Zelda stuff after Greek stuff, but, steampunk is something that I think they're going that way, and it would work pretty well. Alright, the last point is the one I kind of feel is like, wait, what? A little bit, not to offend anyone, is flight and flying and stuff. Here's my thoughts. Zelda has always been about exploration. The first game, that was what was revolutionary. That was the big deal. You were exploring. There was never really a game like that, or at least not to that degree. Flying, that is travel, not exploration. The more the series goes this way of having all these crazy travel methods, the less they're going away from exploration, which I feel is something the series needs to go back to a bit, because that's kind of what made it really great in the old days with the older games. What could work is if the world was incredibly expansive, and I mean like big, 2 to 3 to 4 times the size of Twilight Princess or bigger. Then they could have docking ports. It would be a way to travel across a ridiculously huge landscape. That could work. But overall, I think the kind of concept is better for the linear, kind of island docking-based things like the DS titles or Wind Waker. That is a setting the flight could work in. In the terms of main console open-ended game, I don't think it would work very well, and I think it's kind of silly. There's also the problem that it'd be a little difficult to come up with a flying device. Link riding a dragon, I don't think would make sense. That's one thing people talk about. Link, a Pegasus sounds pretty weird to me, especially if it was a Pegasus opponent. Someone mentioned to me that you could ride on like a familiar that was like a bird, like which is basically what the warping was in the original games. That might work. I don't think we could do a hang glider. I don't think we could do a balloon. I don't think we could do anything that would seem quite right. Though I think the balloon would be the best method there. But the bird thing could work. Or, you know, griffins, whatever. I just don't think flight is at home in Zelda. Alright, that's my opinion on this stuff, guys. Tell me what you think, and tell me what you think about what I think. And Zelda Wii will be announced at E3 real soon. E3 is pretty close, so keep an eye on Zelda Dungeon for news and a podcast. See you later, guys.